Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. It's Allan Laboucan with the Rocks and Stocks News. I've been talking about a company called Borealis Mining, and it's a really unique situation because normally I don't talk about pre-listed companies. And I broke the mold with Borealis because of the impressive team that they've put together. Not only in the board of directors, they have some really talented people, but on the operations side and in the key shareholders. And so we're going to talk about all of that. And I've got Kelly, Malcolm, and Andreas on the line to talk. Hey, thanks a lot for joining me today, guys.
Of
Pleasure
course.
is all, brother.
So, Kelly, let's just start with the big picture sort of. Give us a rundown on some of the stuff I touched on there.
Yeah, sure. So, as it's a new story, quick little elevator pitch. Borealis Mining, we're Nevada based. Andreas is actually on site right now at our mine site. So we've got a fully permitted mine with a fully functional plant where we can pour doré bars. Historically, it's not 43-101 current compliant. There's a resource base of over 2 million ounces of gold. There was a pre-feasibility study done in 2011 for a predecessor company that we ended up acquiring the project sort of from over a couple hurdles. We've raised over $15 million in what was a pretty poor gold market, assembled a really good board of directors, including Tony McCooch as chairman, the founder of Kinross, Bob Buchan, Rich Patricio. And look at the presentation. There's really great people there. And we are nearing the finish line in terms of our go public strategy. So I hope to be able to present your audience with a ticker and a share price to follow in the very near term. So the cool thing about Borealis is that we are production ready. We have spectacular drill results in the past. We hope to replicate and exceed some of those amazing historical grades going forward. And yeah, I think we've got really great things going for us. We've got Rob McEwen as a 17% shareholder. Eric Sprott has a really big position. We've got 8 other institutions that hold a significant chunk of stock. So lots of things going for us, Allan. We're really looking forward to get public and get our story out to the market.
So some things that that highlight there are for me are the team that you put together on the board of directors: Tony McCooch, Kirkland Lake fame, Buchan, and others. Plus the fact that you were able to raise $15 million as a private company in a difficult market to raise money for juniors. I think those things speak volumes about the quality of the asset. But then by you vended this from, or you got the deal from Waterton, and they were going to own a big chunk of the company. And as a private company, you were able to get them out and get Rob McEwen to take their position. So you've got a legend in the mining business there as a big shareholder.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. That was you that introduced us. So it really changed when it was pitching that when we raised all that money. The one of the biggest hurdles was Waterton because they are closing their fund and they're known to be they can be a little aggressive on the hitting bids. And anyways, they're gone. Rob's in, and I think this story is infinitely better because of that.
Yeah, and Rob is he's a real long-term guy. He's not looking for a little pop in the stock. I think he sees the vision of the combination of exploration and development, or not development, but putting the project back into production. In our
Yeah.
first interview, we talked about the exploration, but we got Andreas on the line here, and I really want to focus today on the production side of things. This is makes you unique as well in that you're a private company going into production before you're even public. And so, Andreas, thanks a lot for joining us. And why don't you give us a little rundown of your history in the mining business?
Absolutely. So I'm a mining engineer by trade, um, more than 10 years experience. Started off at the Detour Lake project. Actually, I was there as a student, basically when they were laying out the foundations of the mill and erecting the mill there. So I got to see the whole project from initial startup through mill commissioning into the mine planning and into the continuous improvement stage. So I got to play a critical role there as a mine startup. Following that, I also started my own consulting business and helped Cote start up as well. So I think my highlight was actually pushing to getting the autonomous trucks that operate at the Cote Lake mine to haul X pit. So actually start interacting, getting out of the pit and start moving material out of the pit, kind of getting the legs under the mine operations themselves. So startup is a world that I enjoy. It's a world where you really get to achieve a lot and you get to exert a great influence on an operation and its potential. So that's where I like to live. And so this is startup number 3 here at Borealis. And yeah,
This is your
it's a
startup now,
fascinating
so now,
project.
now you get to put all the irons in the fire and hold yourself accountable. But I think you're going to
Exactly.
do a great job. We're excited.
Well, I hope my audience recognizes Detour Lake because is one of Canada's largest gold mining operations.
The largest,
And
Allan.
and Kelly, you had experience at Detour as well.
That's correct. Yeah, actually, Andreas and I worked. We met. So Andreas is a funny little mining engineer. We started together in exploration. We both were soil samplers at Detour as summer students, and then I worked there for a number of years while Andreas was flourishing in his career. And then I left in around 2017 to start up a gold a Yukon focused gold exploration company. And Andreas, the hard worker that he was working on a 2 week on, 2 week off schedule. And he reached out and he's like, "Hey, I really want to learn more about the exploration world. Think I could come up and volunteer with you guys to come do some work in the Yukon." So Andreas came up on his 2 weeks off. He flew up to Dawson City and came out, did a bunch of prospecting and soil sampling with us in the Yukon on his holiday. So that's a little bit of a sidebar into Andreas's work
So you
history.
wanted
And
to get some boots on the ground experience.
Yep. And I was also camp chef, and I can say that nobody died under my watch. I think
Ah,
that's pretty good standard to start off.
darn good, darn good. Cote Lake, that's a new mine. Who owns that one, Andres?
That's I Am Gold's project.
I am gold,
That's their
yeah.
flagship project.
And it's now in full commercial production.
Yes, I know that
just
they've had their gold pours and they're basically reaching near commercial production at this point.
Okay.
yeah, I think
Now,
this or next quarter, one of the two, they should be into full nameplate production. And that will be the driver of the, if you look at the stock price over the past year, Cote is the driver behind that. Because if it actually goes into production without a hiccup, I think, what does it do? 400,000 ounces a year or something, Andreas?
wow,
Yeah, it'd be more than 400.
It's a humongous gold mine.
wow. So you've had good experience, Andreas, working on a couple giants in Canada gold mining, and now you're moving into Nevada.
Yeah, trying to build a new giant over here. That's obviously the goal. Everyone's got to have a big goal. So we're starting off with a heap leach operation. That's the nice thing that Kelly's touched upon a bit. But you look at a lot of these projects in the area, and they may have a certain amount of ounces. They may have got into a PEA, PFS, so on and so forth. But a lot of times they have no existing infrastructure. They haven't sunk any of the capital, which a lot of the risk is in the capital, the build out phase, even for a simple project, relatively simple project like a heap leach operation. Whereas we have already essentially the capital's been sunk already on this project, the electrical infrastructure, the water well, water rights, functioning ADR plant, which is basically where the gold gets extracted from the solution and then captured in the carbon, stripped out of the carbon, and then basically brought to the furnace and poured out. I mean, We go all the way from the rock to the doré bars, all at site. So it's nice to have all, like, this is just a gift to have all this stuff here at site that we can go and generate revenue with minimal capex.
Right, right. And you said easy heap leach. The topic du jour these days is in Canada, there's been a landslide in one of the heap leach operations, and I've been looking at some of the videos and pictures of that project up in the Yukon, and you know, there's a striking difference between what was done there and what you guys are doing. In the Yukon, they built this heap leach pad on the side of a mountain that looks like a ski hill, and they had a landslide on it. But your operation is totally on flat ground. No worries for that kind of heap leach pad failure. It's on flat and stable ground.
Yes, that's an advantage. That would have been what they had is a valley fill heap leach. So depending on the topography of the area you're in, you may not have a large enough flat space to put a heap leach pad. Then what you'll do is called a valley fill. It's literally what it means. It's you're filling a valley. You're using the existing topography to go and fill out that space. So a lot of times that's what would have driven that decision, is probably lack of nearby suitable topography.
And
And
you guys,
we have a thankfully we have a large open expanse, actually open in many directions for heap leach pad expansion with a low geotechnical risk. So nothing is easy, but it can be technically straightforward with the right diligence.
and in your case, it's already been built. The pad is there, the material is on it, and you guys are now starting to put the chemicals on top of it to leach out the gold.
That's exactly the case. We have about 3.5 million tons of remaining heap leach pad capacity. So that means, you know, that's again zero capital. It's permitted, it's constructed, designed, ready for us to put material on. So that's a great runway for an operation to, you know, do your heap leach pad expansion without having to do a capital raise off the start. And then you're correct. We've actually started putting cyanide on an unleached section of our pad. Yeah, I know. It's awesome. It's awesome. So there was the previous operator ran into issues with water management. They were unable to leach, to place cyanide on a section of that pad. So it was unfortunate for that sweetener for us.
For some that don't really know what you're talking about, what does that entail? What do you mean by you have your pad, you have unleached material? What is that? Just so
Absolutely. Let's take a step back there. So in a heap leach pad operation, what you're doing is extracting the gold by rinsing it with a cyanide solution. So that ore, due to the oxidation process, that gold is available for a cyanide solution to basically wash the gold out in kind of a basic terms. So what you'll do is you'll take that rock, you'll crush it, you'll place it on what we call a pad. It's a stockpile essentially, and then you're going to irrigate it with that cyanide solution to wash the gold, have it report to your plant, and collect it. So in this case here, I mean, a lot of the basic steps were already done for us with some of this material that's on the pad. It was blasted, it was mined, it was crushed. The appropriate reagents were added to it, and it's sitting on the pad. All we had to do was introduce cyanide to it. So, I mean, this is not an opportunity that you usually get. Usually you got to do all the steps in the production process. We're basically at the profit generating phase of the equation. So it's a nice place to be.
And is there a possibility of some of the material that has been treated already to extract more gold from that as well? Like, what was their recovery? Did they get good recovery, or was it an issue?
So far, they got about 68% recovery, which is reasonable for oxide to transition material. I think we can get better recoveries in the future. With that material, I would say it's quite good. To be honest with you, this is my personal stance: is if they had gotten rod-in recoveries, I would actually be I would be more concerned. I'm kind of happy that the recoveries were where they are.
Right.
What a poor recovery would indicate is there's probably a section of the pad which is not receiving solution. It's not leaching through. It's something is preventing that solution from finding the underlying ore. And that's called blinding a pad. You can blind a pad. Now, once that happens, there's very few remedial solutions to that. So to me, it's great news that everything performed as expected, because we're going to depend on that for the next lifts we put on top. Right? If your base lift is poor, everything else will have a hard time reporting.
So
But also to your point as well, Allan, in the pre-feasibility study from 2011, a number of the reserve level ounces were from reprocessing historical heap leach pads. So there's a chance to rework them and I don't know, I don't really know the process, I guess, just grind them up and reshuffle them and potentially recover gold from that. So
so you crush
there
it
is some more
finer,
gold potentially to be recovered.
and that will help the recovery.
Mm-hmm. It's surface area, right? Your recovery. The theory behind reprocessing that pile is if your surface area is related to your recovery, when you crush, you create more surface area for the cyanide to interact with. And that's why your recovery, you may recover ounces that previously were unexposed to the cyanide solution.
Oh,
that's kind of the theory that you got when you reprocess one of these existing piles or a dump.
So for my non-technical people in the mining process, they've got a pile of material sitting on a pad, and you then put like a sprinkler system. That's why you use the word irrigation. It's
like
just
my
like
little garden, my happy little garden.
Like you're putting water on a field to grow food. Yep. And in this case, it's a big sprinkler system that then the chemicals work their way into the ground and leach out the gold. Very inexpensive way to mine. It's what mining in Nevada has been all about for the last 40 or 50 years. It was a real breakthrough back in the 70s to mine this way, because you were able to take really low grade deposits and make a ton of money off of them because the cost was so low. Did I get that right, Andreas?
I think you nailed it. And actually, a little funny piece of Borealis history that I think also is a great motivator for Kelly and I is back when we mined the Freedom Flats pit here back in the late 80s. This was a 5 gram per ton oxide heap leach operation. Whoa. With the combination of heap leaching, good recovery, open pit, and all the other parameters, we were actually one of the lowest cost gold producers in the United States, and probably in North America at the time. So a lot of people were coming to visit us, and that's the kind of potential we have here on this site. That's what really excites me. It's like, man, find one of those, and like we can do amazing things with this project.
Because there's a lot of open pits these days that are mining a 0.5 gram or less. So that's 1/10 the grade. And it comes down to economies of scale and grade. That's what you would call a high grade open pit. And that Freedom Flats has me really excited for a few different reasons. One is that it's a oxide deposit. There's a big ridge that has widespread, one of the largest geochem anomalies anywhere in the state of Nevada. And as you go down into it, you get into the covered area. And it's in that covered area right beside a fault that Freedom Flats was found. And it was the highest grade pit on the property. So what that tells me is that as you move away to the side of that whole covered area is wide open. And right beside the Freedom Flats is a sulfide system with very high grades as well. So you're really getting my juices flowing there, Andreas, when you talk about processing 5 gram material open pit. That's like mining 2 ounce per ton underground or better.
Better, much better than I'd say 2 ounce. Well, yeah, 2 ounce per ton. I'll take that. I'll take 2 ounce per ton any day.
Underground.
Yes, 2 ounce
Yeah,
would be 60
I'll take
grand.
either or. I'm happy with both
We'll take them.
scenarios. I like two
exactly.
ounces open pit though. That'd
Well, the
be like
difference is in an open pit, you can process a lot more material. So, when it comes to apples, they're probably pretty close. And the other thing that's interesting is right beside the leach pad is a stockpile of material that's ready to get put onto the pad as well, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's 330,000 tons. It is half a gram per ton, but it's again blasted, mined, sitting right next to the heap leach pad. We actually ran a bulk sample on it, a 7-ton bulk sample to determine the head grade and the metallurgy characteristics. So far, leaching is very good, better than expected. Grade was verified at half a gram per ton, roughly. So it's really nice material to put on the heap leach pad. It's really nice material to just generate
And
revenue for this project.
and when I was looking at Kelly and I did an interview a while ago, and is there still more material left at Freedom Flats to pull out?
I think the short answer is we think there's good potential for that. There's material at the bottom of the bench that has still contains high grades, so there's still material at depth. And also, when we look at the strike of the pit on the southwest side, there's some really exciting stuff that we're looking into. There was blast hole maps that
we
were
might have poked a
developed
hole
for
into
that.
that.
Sorry.
We might have poked a hole into that recently, for which assays are pending, but we're excited to see the results from.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited too because I can see the alteration all across that whole pit. So I don't think that side is mined out.
That's the
I'm with.
potential. That's the outlook.
Yeah, good.
We're doing
Okay.
the homework. We've got a full engineering team, or engineering group, sorry, consulting group that's trying to help build us a mine plan.
Yeah.
A little bit challenging because we don't have reserves like many other operations because we don't have a compliant at this stage resource because it was 2011 and that's considered non-current. So we're working with just what's in front of us or what's behind us, I guess, in the past. So one of the interesting things about us is we won't be providing ever guidance until maybe we do an updated technical report, but we hope to be able to present on whichever timeline we end up reporting gold production. And I think that there's so few juniors out there that are able to say that, yeah, we're a $40 million company, which is what we should be trading at, that is actually generating real revenue, not like $100,000, but hopefully in the millions of dollars per annum, um, which covers so much G&A, listing, marketing, and hopefully some of our
Exploration.
exploration costs as well,
And
acquisition costs if we look at other assets. So I think that it's a really, really unique thing, and Andreas is doing a great job getting us set up for making that money, and he's started the path to revenue as of yesterday. The other cool thing is he found on the site a bunch of these super sacks, like a big one yard sack full of carbon fines. He's like, "What are these? These look interesting." So we sampled them. There's a bunch of gold in them. That'll generate, I don't know, better than $100,000 US of money that was literally just sitting on the side of the road. There's
wow.
all these cool things about Borealis that nobody else really has that I can see in the market, especially at the valuation that we're going to be coming out the gate at.
Well, Kelly, you timing, you guys, you're gonna look like friggin' geniuses because we just finished the second quarter of 2024, and it was the best average price of gold ever. The average price of gold during the quarter of 2024 was about $2,350 an ounce. And so, it's different to bring something into production at $1,400 an ounce than 2,350 or even 2,000 for that matter. That was the second, this is quarter over quarter, your two best quarters for the price of gold ever. And now it looks like the third quarter is going to be another strong quarter, which is when you're going to be publicly trading and mining gold.
Pretty amazing.
You're literally a lot of companies get called a junior mining company, but they're actually not junior mining. They're explorers that are called junior mining companies. You're a junior mining company in a world that there isn't enough junior mining companies. There used to be a lot more when I first got in the business in the 1990s. And how companies used to grow is exactly what you guys are doing. They start out sort of small and then they build up from there. And the old model was you keep building and then you start looking for other acquisitions that are not big enough for the mid tiers or the major mining companies, but can become building blocks for a junior mining company. And so not only is your timing great from the price of gold perspective, but in the structure of the mining business now, we need more junior miners.
Yeah. And that's definitely part of our strategy is the consolidation. And literally, like you just said, that's what those are the assets we're really looking at is kind of the sweet spots like 500,000, 2 million, 0.5 ounces, something that doesn't really register on the larger producers. Register, they don't even look at those because they wouldn't make a difference to their balance sheet. But for us, you put a few of those together with some mineable ounces, and all of a sudden you become a miner that doesn't want to look at those assets anymore. So if we execute well, we genuinely have like and maybe we talked about this in our last one, but the cool thing about Borealis and a little bit different from most companies is we're actually trying to build a business here. We're not looking to I'm not knocking the strategy because a buyout is such a lovely way for all shareholders to make money, but we are actually looking to build something that will be ours to manage, or whomever is the shareholders elect to manage it for the next decade or more, and build a real deal gold mining company and a cash positive business, which I think many people listed on the venture don't even ever dream of actually making money. And that's I think another thing that differentiates us and Andreas's that's Andreas' side of the business is making us make money. So hopefully he does a good job, and we're rooting for him. And I have all the faith in the world, as does our board and our shareholders, which is how we raised the capital that we did.
Well, Kelly, I've had quite an experience in takeovers in my career. At one time, my Allan reports, which was the predecessor to the Rocks and Stocks News, I had picked 29 companies, and over 20 of those either were takeovers or became mining companies. And so I've experienced this trend a lot. And what I'm almost excited now, Kelly, about bringing something into production as I used to be about trying to tag potential takeover targets. Because sometimes those takeover targets, you don't really get full value or even sometimes a reasonable valuation. Of course, sometimes it happens. Great Bear is an example. But a lot of times it's done at a discount, not at a premium. And the way to extract a premium is to actually bring something into production. And why that excites me so much these days, Kelly, is when I was starting in the 1990s and in the early 2000s, there was a lot of discoveries And there was a lot of junior mining companies that were building on that old model. But then 2001 to 2011 bull market came along, which is where all the takeovers happened of my previous picks. And they really sort of cleaned out the mid tiers and the junior miners. So now we're in a different environment, and you always want to be able to adjust to the business environment you're in. And now there's not enough junior miners or even mid tiers out there. And what that gives you is sort of carte blanche at projects that those bigger companies just can't look at, but could be phenomenal free cash flow generating machines. Oh, you turned.
Yeah, sorry, I'm outside and there's a million birds around me, but all good. But totally agree. And I think that we're going to be well received with that business plan when we're public. You never know how the market's going to react, but I certainly know that there's a lot of people waiting for us to go live. Um, but I totally agree that there's that niche doesn't exist right now, and we
No,
hope to fill it. And we're going to be focused mostly in Nevada, at least sort of Great Basins, maybe reaching into Idaho, Utah kind of thing, but Arizona, but for the most part, Nevada focused. And who knows where that goes as we keep growing. Like look at Kinross Gold, for example, or Gold Corp. All these companies, not that we're going to become a $20 billion company, but they all start in a similar capacity with a growth mindset and big ambitions and a really good starter project. That's I think the main thing that kind of gets all these things going is you've got your first one that you can actually grow, make money, have exploration successes, and grow that into something substantial. Um, and then you grow from there. So and Andreas, he and I put Borealis together. Really, we found the asset, identified the opportunity, and then started presenting it to different financiers to get some money in the coffers and get the deal done. But he and I have a great nose, I think, for projects that matter and are financeable and have opportunity for growth. So
well,
I
basically, I'm going to toot your horns for you guys. You guys have spent pretty much your entire career on serious projects. You haven't, Kelly, you have some scars, but you don't have the kind of scars that I do from this business. You know, you came out, you started with Detour, same with you, Andreas. And then, Andreas, you moved from Detour to Cote Lake. Kelly, you went and found a bunch of ounces of gold, millions of ounces of gold in Quebec. And so your pedigree is quite unique for both of you guys. And I think that's why you got guys like Tony McCooch and Buckins and guys like that to join up with you and give you the 15 million. This is no small feat to raise $15 million as a junior in the market we've had over the last year or so that you raised that money.
Hey, I'll take the praise when it's granted. Thank you.
Well, it's coming from a lot of experience, and I have the war wounds to voice that experience, Kelly. So let's touch on a little bit about the going public process, Kelly. Recently, the one of the final hurdles is getting the exchange to sign off on the technical report. And I think you guys have recently done that, correct?
Yeah, we're in the final throes here. We've done most of the required steps to get live. Right now, we're just waiting on some audit related things, but I'm anticipating in the near term. I don't know what that looks like, but in the next 2 weeks, which is what I've said for a while, but 2-3 weeks, I hope to be public in the month of July, if not into early August. Um, we're just waiting on some exchange related stuff, but sorry, some audit related stuff, but everything else is substantially complete and approved. Um, I can't really say
But
that we are
as
going
you're
to
pushing
go
forward with
we're
that,
approved, but we're almost there. And I think we talked about this before, but as a private company, we've not sat waiting on our laurels. We've we've been so active last year. Andreas has he's probably lost some hair over the last year, managing the plant. We've got a full staff on site. This is not some little rinky-dink company. We've got a full manned staff. We've got people on our site 24/7, 365. Um, we've done a pretty large drilling program. We actually had another drill arrived to site yesterday, started drilling today. I'm really looking forward to getting some reports from the rig, hopefully this evening, about what they're getting into. Um, we've been super active. We've poured gold 3 times. Um, yeah, this public or not, we've been acting. We've been advancing the company, I would say, quite aggressively during the time period that we've had the asset, which was basically we bought it theoretically in April, but we didn't really take full ownership until about June or July of 2023. So we've had it for largely a year.
So if in a year, and that I'm glad you touched on that, Kelly, because you're not just waiting to get public. You guys are doing a hell of a lot of work, drilling, getting the ADR plant ready to roll, getting some chemicals on top the heap, the leaching pad there, making plans. Andreas, that's been your Kelly is kind of the drilling guy and the explorer, but yours is the getting the ADR plant all ready to roll and the leach pad and everything like that. So you've been a pretty busy guy while a private company.
Absolutely. My job is to deliver physical gold at the end of the day. That's pretty much what Kelly asks me for. So yeah, it's all about setting up, actually setting up processes, setting up the equipment and people such that we can smoothly deliver both recovery from the heap leach pad and a well-run ADR plant. And those are the foundational elements of a successful mining company that often get overlooked. It's just doing these basic things right, especially on a heap leach pad.
Well, Kelly and I are real serious exploration guys, and both of us can see that huge alteration package up on the hill and the structures going through it and down into the covered area. So we talked about that in the last interview, but I wanted to ask you because Kelly touched on that you kind of helped find this project and what got you excited. I think we've touched on some of it, but maybe you can encapsulate it for us.
Absolutely. I think what's exciting to me is one, as I said, having all the capital already sunk such that you can start generating revenue and cash once you make that mining decision. That's a great place to be. And the second thing that's very exciting for me was that once you have this central processing facility, any new discoveries you have, you can bring online a lot faster than any of the nearby facilities, right? And your threshold, I kind of talked about this in the past to other people, but essentially you have a moat around your business, right? Other people, in order to get started, they probably need to build up 200, 300, 400,000 ounces, right? To get the kind of funding and conviction to get started. Whereas us, you find 50,000,
Actually,
100,000
Andreas,
ounces,
probably
you
more
can
than
bring them in.
It's probably more than 1 million ounces. And that's finding 1 million or 2 million ounces of oxide material in Nevada that's been gone over with a fine-tooth comb is not that easy. So sorry, I had to interject there, but you were talking about some great stuff there, Andreas.
No problem. But yeah, basically what we're saying is other businesses have this huge moat to overcome to get into a production phase, whereas us, any incremental ounces we discover through exploration with Kelly's drill bit, I can absorb those and bring them in and generate, cash flow and profit from those because we've already surpassed one of the major hurdles of a mining operation, which is sinking in the capital to get ready infrastructure wise.
So everything is there infrastructure. You got water retention ponds. You've got places where you can put the the stockpile, you've got the heap leach pad, you've got the ADR plant, you've got the power. And have you
Electrical
figured
power.
out the water issues? Has that been figured out as well?
Yes, well, we have full water rights. We have no issues with our water rights. We have a 350 gallon per minute wells, 2 wells drilled out. And I mean, yeah, there's Nevada is, as you know, is a particular situation dealing with water rights in the area, but we're thankfully in a separate basin, which is not very contested, and we've got good water rights that are under no contest. So that sets us up very well to keep going.
And you got
I
to,
think Alan was thinking about earlier, you mentioned water management issues, Andreas, which Alan, for your if that's the question you were asking about, that was related to El Nino, and we had extreme snowfalls and a lot of groundwater that we had to deal with. When we
right?
first acquired the project, we were pumping a whole lot of water, but we've realized that was kind of a freak, and this year it's everything's dry and well managed and should be that way going forward.
Perfect, perfect.
Yeah.
So Andreas, you're the operations guy and you're getting to operate now. You got you're going to start getting some gold flowing.
Exactly. It's an exciting time to be around to see the gold reporting back from the pad into the plant. And once you have enough of gold soaked into your carbon at the plant, then you're ready to basically take that gold out of the carbon and go to your pour process. So this is a little bit of the jet fuel that gets us going, and hopefully that's where I come in to basically build the pipeline from one step, building some revenue and getting some gold, to the next step, to the next step, to building a viable production pipeline.
Wow, I
Yeah,
love the sounds of
I'll
that,
give you
Andreas.
the teaser. So we got the cyanide going on the pad. Next step would be what?
Next step would be basically crushing the 330,000 ton stockpile at 0.5 gram per ton. It's right there, right next to the heap leach pad, and we're scoping out contractors to execute.
And does the data you're learning from the heap leach give you some ideas of the how fine you have to crush that to maximize your recovery?
Yes, it does. It does. And we actually are running a metallurgical program with a pretty well known group out of Reno. And they're using our stockpile material to determine. And the question is not just how fine, but also how coarse. Like right now, at 2 inches, we're getting almost the same recovery as at 3/4 inch. And previous work at, we don't have to start from scratch here. We have a great benefit, which is this mine ran in the 1980s as well. So even at 1.5 inches, they were getting very reliable high recoveries. So you're going to have to optimize, and that's the essence of every operation, is find your optimization point. But it's really nice. It's a luxury to have when you know that you don't need to crush down to 1/4 inch or something crazy. Like you got a lot of
Because
operating
folks
scenarios.
watching this, crushing takes energy, takes money. The
Oh yes,
less you need to crush, the less fine you need to go down to get that sort of maximum relative to how much you crush and getting your best recovery is a fine tuning thing. And the less you have to crush, the better your cost profile looks.
exactly. And I think that's what's underlooked. I mean, you can only get so far with a feasibility study, right? Versus living it day to day, learning day to day, and then truly optimizing the operation. So that's kind of our bread and butter, is get going with some sound principles and then optimize from there.
Perfect. So you don't have to do it in a study, you do it in reality.
Yes, and we also have one of the biggest bulk samples you could ever take, which is a previously producing mine, that has run successfully, generated good revenue, and has validated the business concept.
Well, in exploration, Andreas, we often call the drill rig the truth machine. But there's a bigger truth machine out there. And the real truth machine is exactly what you're talking about, Andreas, because getting that gold that you drill into with a drill rig and getting it out of the rock is the real truth machine. And you've got that, you've got both truth machines at work, Kelly.
Got it.
So I'm going to wrap it up now, but Kelly and Andreas, you guys got to be really excited about not just getting the company public, but all the work that you're doing now that will help you to hit the ground running as a new public company in the not too distant future.
I'll speak for both of us. I'm the most excited I've ever been in my career about something, and I think that we're really pumped. There's a lot of things going on, and I think there's a lot of really fun things going on, and I'm looking forward to our shareholders and potentially new shareholders in the future joining us in the process. So thanks
Well,
again, Allan.
you're giving me a big smile, Kelly, because I know you well. We've been around the block for several years together, and I've become a significant shareholder of Borealis. And I can't contain my enthusiasm, Kelly. It's not just because I'm a shareholder and you guys are a sponsor of my work, but with my reporting. But what I just don't see enough of companies that want to build a real company and a real junior mining company with aspirations of growing into a bigger junior mining company or a mid-tier.
Let's go, buddy.
Okay, well, thanks a lot, Andreas. It was really nice to meet you, by the way.
Likewise, looking forward to other opportunities to catch up.
Well, I'm gonna have to come up there to Nevada and see you guys and watch some of that gold come out.
Please,
Yeah, you
please
get to
come.
hold a bar.
I might have to sneak. I'll wait till it cools down. I'll sneak a little bit of it out there.
Well, you're not doing that, but we'll dress you up in the tinfoil and you can maybe help pour something. We'll figure it out.
Perfect, perfect. I'll take videos of it.
Love
Well, thanks a lot, Andreas. Really nice meeting you. You're doing great work out there, and keep it up. And Kelly, keep up the good work and building the company. You got a really exciting story emerging here, and I can't wait until we get it public and we can show the world the Borealis mining story.
it. Thanks, buddy. Thanks for your time.
Okay, guys, on that note, everybody, do your homework, speak with your financial advisor before making any investment decisions. Bear in mind that I'm extremely biased. Kelly is a good friend of mine. I want him to have success. I'm a shareholder, they're a sponsor, but all joking aside, no matter when I'm looking at a sponsored company or a pick in my reports, I'm biased on everything. I want to be right. That it doesn't matter whether they're a sponsor or not a sponsor. I try to pick the cream of the crop. And in Borealis Mining, I think you have a quite a unique junior mining. Mining is they're junior miners, not junior explorers, junior miners, but they also have what I just coined there is they have both truth machines working for the company. The drill rig to find new stuff and the big truth machine to get it out of the rock. So we'll have more to talk about in the not too distant future. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.